Welcome to the May 14th, 2024 City Council meeting. Please stand for the invocation by Councilmember Helgeson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I turn to pray. Good. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this wonderful day. Thank you for the rain. This springtime that you bring us the seasons of change and where we have warm and cold and the season where things grow. Thank you, Lord, for creating. Thank you for your hand. Thank you for your omnipotence. I pray that you will bless our time tonight as we gather, as we vote on very prescient issues, things that affect all the citizens, all 82,000 Lynchburg citizens, that will have wisdom that only comes from you, that will have collegiality, that will come to logic and good things that are for the best interest of our citizens. Lord, I just thank you for each person here. Thank you for our citizens. Thank you for our city employees. I pray that you'll comfort our city manager, Mr. Benda, in the loss of his father. Lord, we know that you are the ultimate comforter. And Lord, I pray that you'll just give him an extra blessing this week and hold him and his mother and family in your hand. Thank you for your love. Pray that you'll bless our time. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have one recognition tonight. Is Emergency Medical Services Week, or we have Emergency Medical Services Week proclamation, and I believe that our fire chief is here to accept it. Chief Wormser. So I'll read it, and then do you have some remarks? Yes? Okay, great. Whereas emergency medical services are a vital public service, and EMS teams provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. And whereas emergency medical services have grown to fill a gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including preventative medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine. And whereas the emergency medical services team in the city of Lynchburg is comprised of emergency medical technicians, paramedics, and firefighters who provide out-of-hospital cutting-edge medical care. And whereas the members of emergency medical services team engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas last year, Lynchburg Fire Department EMTs and paramedics responded to more than 15,000 calls for emergency medical service, providing critical life-saving care to thousands of citizens and visitors. And whereas 2024 marks the 50th anniversary of EMS Week, with the designated theme, honoring our past, forging our future. Now, therefore, I, Stephanie T. Reed, Mayor of the City of Lynchburg, do hereby proclaim May 19th through 25th, 2024, Emergency Medical Services Week in Lynchburg, and encourage the community to show appreciation to all of our EMS first responders.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of City Council, thank you and the City Manager for your continued support of our department. Our staff play a vital role in our community, and our city is fortunate to have the absolute best emergency medical service providers anywhere. With their immense talents and professionalism, they answer the call every day, facing unpredictable challenges while providing compassionate and life-saving care. In addition to the mayor's remarks and the proclamation, I want to share with you that our return of spontaneous circulation rate continues to be twice the national average at 50%. I also want to share with you a few ongoing programs in our department. We've been utilizing ultrasound technology in our community for more than a year, which has proven to be successful at identifying treatment modalities for the patients we encounter. We have recently instituted a new whole blood program in one of few departments in the entire state, providing blood to patients pre-hospital before they arrive in the emergency room. We have expanded our advanced practice paramedic program through training for staff, but also making strategic investments in medications and equipment, making it more available to our providers in the field. And thanks to input from our EMS staff, we've recently redesigned our ambulances, what is essentially our provider's office space, to be more patient and provider-centric. We've also been taking care of our providers by providing resources for improved mental and physical health. Most recently, we hosted a family night for all employees and their families to connect them with the resources and benefits that are available, in many cases, free of charge. We will celebrate with our employees next week with a number of events and provide each of our employees with a small token of our appreciation, in addition to partnering with our regional partners and agencies like BREMS and Centra on several other activities. Behind every life-saving intervention, there are countless sacrifices that make these remarkable individuals and their families so perfect for our organization and our community. So to the fire department team, I say thank you for your dedication and commitment to improving outcomes, and we are forever grateful for what you do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight's City Council agenda is divided into 4 sections: consent agenda, public hearing, public comment, and general business. The first section is consent agenda. This section includes routine items, and all items may be approved by one vote. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to pull all of the minutes. We've got 6 sets of minutes on us, and I haven't had a chance to review all of them. I'd like to have an opportunity to review all the minutes before we vote on them.
Pardon? So all,
I'd like to pull all the minutes.
okay.
This just got dropped on us on the agenda with 6 sets of minutes on it.
I'll make a motion for the other, for approval of the grant.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, so the motion is to drop the minutes and then
And approve item number 3, too.
approve item number 3.
3.2. Yep.
Oh, 3-2, sorry. Everybody okay with that? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. Yeah, oh, sorry. Vice
Do we
Mayor?
vote by pushing buttons or we,
No.
voice? Okay.
Vice Mayor Foley?
I took the time in my busy schedule to read through all of them, and I'm prepared to vote on them. So just want to offer that. We need to make sure we're prepared for our meetings and reviewing our content for the business of the council.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hubbardson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
No.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, moving on to public hearing. The next section is public hearing. Oh, sorry.
I guess to be clear, so this, the motion that was presented was on the consent agenda for the $27,000 for the Library of Virginia. That's, okay.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Next section is public hearings. This section includes all public hearings as required by law or as council may direct. Staff will make a presentation. Comments will then be solicited from the public. An individual speaker shall have 3 minutes to speak. If the speaker represents a group, the speaker shall have 5 minutes. The speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks, and a group may have only one spokesperson. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and locality of residence. Upon the conclusion of public comments, the public hearing will be closed and the matter referred to council for deliberation. Consideration of adopting an ordinance changing a certain area located at 2731, 2735, and 2739 Wards Road from B5 General Business District, B5C General Business District Conditional, and I2 Light Industrial District to B5C General Business District Conditional. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Rachel Fresheisen.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. The purpose of this rezoning petition is to allow the redevelopment of these sites into a gas station with a convenience store and a light auto repair facility. The proposed traffic improvements shown on the concept plan will be constructed by the petitioner per their voluntarily submitted proffer. The 4 existing entrances on Wards Road will be consolidated into one entrance, and another entrance would be provided on Glass Avenue. The street itself will also be widened on Glass Avenue as part of this project. A left turn taper, right turn taper, and medians are proposed to be installed in Wards Road. These improvements are consistent with the initiatives outlined in the STARS report, which is a traffic study currently being prepared by VDOT. The city's traffic engineer concurred with the findings in the traffic study. The proposed rezoning should have limited impact on the area. It should fit in with the zoning of the surrounding properties, and the uses are consistent in nature to those nearby and those that have previously been located on the site. The proffered improvements to the right-of-way of Wards Road and Glass Avenue should mitigate any traffic impacts and improve safety in the corridor. Planning Commission recommended approval of this petition on April 10th, and I will be happy to answer any questions after the public hearing.
Okay, thank you so much. Would the petitioner like to make a presentation?
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council. My name is Daniel Cyrus. I represent Wards Road Development, LLC. We're the petitioner for the application before you all this evening. I do want to go over a couple of the points that Ms. Verschweisen made this evening. First, I'd like to thank you all for your time and review of this matter. As was pointed out, this was recommended for approval by both city staff and unanimously by Planning Commission. Our proposal here is proffered in general conformance with the concept plan that you see before you. That includes both the on-site work as well as the off-site work that's shown on Wards Road and Glass Avenue. Our proposal is to redevelop the existing corner at the Cookout and Wards Road entrance to the mall, which is Wards Road and Glass Avenue. And it would be a redevelopment of approximately 3 separate parcels, which are all currently vacant and unutilized, into a nationally branded convenience store, as well as a secondary use that is to be determined. We're excited to be here this evening representing a national tenant for the city of Lynchburg that is new to the market. This zoning request is in general conformance with the future land use map, and it's in general conformance with the surrounding land uses of Wards Road. As was pointed out, there's currently 5 entrances along Wards Road. We are proposing to close all of those except for one. We're also proposing substantial improvements on Wards Road, which are actually improvements that are proposed as part of the STARS report that the City of Lynchburg staff and VDOT are working in conjunction with. The unique thing about this is we're proposing to perform these improvements at the developer's sole cost and expense. So there's no taxpayer dollars that would otherwise be ultimately putting these improvements in when that study is completed. We're also proposing to widen Glass Avenue, which is a city street that's currently relatively narrow. Again, that's another improvement that we're proposing at our sole cost and expense. The city engineer and the city traffic engineer have reviewed these proposed improvements and find them congruent with the STAR study as well as the goals for the general road network through the area. From a stormwater perspective, the impervious area of this site will actually be slightly less than what is currently there when this is redeveloped, and stormwater will be retained on site. So in summary, we feel like this is a unique opportunity to bring a new national tenant to the city, also make some needed improvements along Wards Road, and are excited to hopefully move this project forward. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll bring you back up if we have questions.
Thanks.
Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Okay, anyone here who would like to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay. All right, well, the public hearing is now closed. The matter rests with council. May I have a motion? Vice Mayor Frawley?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor? No? Councilman Hudson?
Just a question, maybe Daniel, if you can, I'm trying to pull up the site plan. There it is, and I lost it, yeah. When I try to blow it up, it keeps going away. So I'm trying to see that. So you mentioned there's 5 entrances onto Ward's Road now, and you're making it into 1.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully you're going to have an entrance, ingress and egress on Glass then, right?
Yes, sir. So we'll have
Okay.
a full access entrance on Glass Avenue. On the screen, I know it's probably a little small, but where it says Access B off of Glass Avenue, that's full access. And then the access on Ward's Road will be limited access. So it'll be right in, right out, and left in, no left turns out. And a big part of the improvements that we're proposing on Ward's Road is to channelize the existing turn lanes. So there'll be concrete medians through there. Right now, the center lane of Ward's Road, there's no raised medians at all. So essentially, traffic is often opposing one another in those center lanes. So we're proposing to channelize that. And then the other thing that we're actually proposing to do is to put in a left turn lane for the property across the street, which is the former Toyota dealership. That's not part of this project, but we're proposing to do that. If someone was to redevelop that property in the future, it would need to have access. So that's something we've worked with staff to try to set up reasonable access for that property in the future.
So somebody coming, going the other direction on Ward's Road, like coming from Sam's Club,
Yes, sir.
they'll be able to take a left and go into,
Yes, sir. You'd be able to
Okay.
take a left off of Ward's Road and enter into the development, or,
come the other way, you could take a right in there.
yes, sir.
Okay.
And essentially, if you were going to go left out, like you want it to go towards downtown, you would go out at Glass and you could make a left turn out at the light.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Because it's a great parcel, and I wanted to make sure, lots of times, sometimes people over-plan things, by city staff saying, hey, or I don't know necessarily, or engineering that says, oh, you can only go on Ward's Road now. But you're going from 5 entrances,
Right.
currently, and that people would come and go and make it, so I know you're proffering the concept plan, but, just my little take would be, if later you recognize that, man, it'd be nice to be able to get in and out a little quicker, because when you have so many folks coming in and can't get out because they're waiting for, fairly good long line to get onto Ward's Road.
Right.
That may kind of stifle that. And I like to see the businesses that are investing their capital, make sure they're protected and you can get in and out. But
Yes, sir.
you have a proffered concept plan that has the 1 in and 1 out. Is that
Yes, sir. We have the 2 entrances, and with the light on Glass Avenue, we feel like we'll have adequate access there. And also with the widening of Glass Avenue, we think that that'll be beneficial not only for our project, but for the existing businesses that are accessed off Glass Avenue.
and so Glass Avenue is going to be widened? You're
Yes.
planning on doing that?
Yes, sir.
Will it be 2 lanes or something?
Yes, it'll be 2 lanes, which it's 2 lanes now.
I mean, 2
but-
lanes coming out.
Yes. And right now, it's narrower than the current typical street section. And I'm sure everybody has been there, especially, at lunchtime or dinner time. And oftentimes, there's a line that wraps out from Cookout, and it's very difficult to get out of there because the road is so narrow.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
because you have Cookout right there, and then you also have the Hibachi Grill, and sometimes coming out of there, it's pretty
Exactly.
difficult. So
And people coming out sometimes get halfway in the road and can't turn because it's so narrow, and that kind of adds to the congestion.
So I want this new development, I'd like you to have as much freedom as possible to make it successful, because sometimes that changes, so.
Right.
So I guess if you're proffering the concept plan, that means if there's ever changes, you'd have to come back, but anyway, hopefully you won't have to. So,
Right. Yep.
But I wish you well, and thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Councilman Stritz?
Looking forward to this. I got an idea who it is, and that excites me. And, it's nice to see this change coming. I remember when that was, I think it started out as Ragazzi's, is that right? Is that the Italian restaurant? And then it went.
Fazoli's.
No, Fazoli's was the cookout
Cookout,
area. That was
yeah,
the fast food.
that's
And then
right.
that one was Ragazzi's, and then it went on to be, I think, the Ale House and some other things. And
Several restaurants and a car dealership.
and now it's nothing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what you guys are doing. The plan looks very good and well thought out, and thanks for offering to include those traffic improvements to Wards Road to help take that relief off there.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? No?
I guess this would be just to maybe city staff, that Glass Road or Glass Avenue, hopefully after these improvements are made, that there's going to be good signalization there. I mean, it needs to be.
We had some conversations with the city traffic engineer about, as part of this, helping adjust some of the timing for the signal as well.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I guess we'll go ahead and call a vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchinson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Great. All right, moving on. Conduct a public hearing to receive citizen input regarding appointments or reappointments to vacancies that will exist June 30th, 2024 in school board districts 1, 2, and 3. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Ms. Alicia Finney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the first public hearing to hear appointments or reappointments to the school board. State code dictates, section 22.1-29.1, that no applicant whose name has not been considered a public hearing can be appointed as a school board member. So as such, I will read the names of the applicants I have on file for each district. District 1, I have Brandon Hill, Daryl Connor, Selena Morgan, Patrick Earl, Nettie Webb, Cynthia Deutsch, Elizabeth Jenkins. In District 2, I have Josera Schneck, Mark Tinsley, Timothy Smith, Margaret Darley, Jabri Poe. In District 3, I have Aaron Borsay, Tormina Howard, Atul Gupta, Carlos Fuentes, Beth Ann Fretz, Alicia Brown, Kimberly Thompson. And right before the meeting, I received one more application from Jordan Nesbitt in District 2. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much. Okay, well, I will first open the floor to any candidates who would like to speak at tonight's public hearing. Please state your name and school district for the record. Your time limit would be 3 minutes. And you can, yes?
Madam Mayor, prior to that, do we want to share what we usually do in case someone couldn't be here tonight, or do we want to wait till after?
Oh, sure. So this is up to council, but I have been advertising, or just in front of you all, and then also to the school board, that historically council holds over their public hearing, and will conduct a second one on May 28th. This is to receive more applications and more citizen input.
Thank you. Just wanted to highlight that.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that said, if you would like to speak tonight and you are a candidate whose name was called tonight, you're more than welcome to speak, and you have 3 minutes. And please, again, state your name and the district that you're running for.
Absolutely. Madam Mayor, members of council, my name is Patrick Earl. I am out of School District 1. Thank you so much for your time. I'm just here to give you a brief rundown of my experiences. I have a Master's of Fine Arts from the University of Houston. I also have a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from Aquinas College in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I currently have over a decade, closing on 15 years of experience in higher education. I have been a substitute preschool teacher. I've been a foster parent. I have taught workshops all over the country to people of all ages. I'm intimately aware of what it takes to prepare a student for life after education. And most of all, I feel like I'm qualified because I do have skin in the game. I have a second grader within the Lynchburg city school system. As executive director of a Lynchburg nonprofit, I have also been embedded within our community. As End Station Theater Company is also affiliated with Randolph College, so I have not only had to keep an open mind with negotiating budgets across two organizations, I've also had to approach the community for feedback about programming. I've had to facilitate talkbacks, give lengthy presentations, and I feel as if that would give me the experience to create an atmosphere on the school board that, how shall I say this and put it in nice terms, apolitical. Because I think we can all agree the one thing that we can say without equivocation is that when it comes to our children, we are all on the same side. And I think regardless of what side of the aisle you are on or where you send your children, We have to make decisions for the students of Lynchburg as a whole, apolitically, and with kindness in mind. With that, I wanted to be brief, but thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to speaking more with you at a later date.
Thank you, Mr. Earl.
Hi, I'm Nettie Webb for District 1 School Board. Now, many of y'all have seen me here. I've had conversations with you, and you know that I'm very invested in public education and its thriving ability in Lynchburg City Schools. Now, this comes from the fact that my mom has taught in Lynchburg City Schools for the past 35 years. I grew up in Lynchburg City Schools. My brothers went to Lynchburg City Schools, but I also know that there's problems with Lynchburg City Schools. Problems to the fact that my family made the choice that when I was in high school, I didn't go to Lynchburg City Schools because we saw the problems there. And you see those problems still existing in Lynchburg City Schools. Many members have said the can has been kicked down the path. The can has been kicked down the path. That's true, but they're not providing solutions or putting people in the places that are qualified and capable and have the time, most importantly, to make complex solutions to the complex problems we have here. Time after time this past fall, we heard school board members, the chair, the vice chair, talk about the fact that this was a really complex problem, that it was going to take a lot of solutions. And then there was no solutions, no strategy, no problem solving. I'm an engineer by trade, but I also have a background in social sciences. I was interdisciplinary. I'm used to working hard. I've always taken the most excelling courses, extra hours, while running successful programs. And I know how to manage that time and do the work that's necessary to be done, which is something that these school board members, many of which you all appointed last year, said that they don't have the capacity to do. We've been told time and time again, it's a volunteer position. I don't have the capacity to do that. It's a volunteer position. Why can I be expected to do this? Well, it's a volunteer position, and I've been volunteering this entire time to present solutions, present plans, and to do the work. And I've guaranteed many of you that if you provide the funds, if you work with us, I will make sure the changes happen that you have been asking for. Right now, you guys need someone who will do the effort, do it with the leadership and the guidance of the leaders we have on the school board, of their expertise. You need a younger energy that has the capacity to do it, who's not having to take care of families also and take care of their work and their colleagues and their nonprofits and their volunteering. So you need someone who can do that. If we don't have change on the school board, it is going to be catastrophic next year and the year after and for the future. And you need someone, as Member Helgelson, as other members have said, know the data, know the analysis, and know how to do research. And that's what I can bring to the school board and to make sure that action actually happens. Thank you.
Ms. Webb.
Thank you. Hello, Madam Mayor and council members. Thank you for having this so that I can express my qualifications for the school board. I have been a resident of Lynchburg since 1978. My children attended the Sandusky schools and Heritage. I have a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's in school counseling. I am an elder in the PCUSA, that's Presbyterian Church USA. I taught middle school and science and high school science in Appomattox County for 29 years, commuting from Lynchburg. I was a school counselor in Pittsylvania County schools for 8 years. The last one was Gretna High School, where I retired from as guidance director. After retirement, I worked as an intensive in-home counselor for the Madeline Center, working with teenage girls. I substituted in Lynchburg City Schools from about 2012 to 2015, and I subbed at Sandusky Middle and mainly Heritage. No, I was there once, but I spent most of the rest of my time at Glass. I did a long-term sub from January to May when one of the teachers was deployed. I kept that class. I also did a long-term sub at the Pride Center. And let's see, I took care of my husband from 2016 till 2022 when he passed away. I volunteered at the Food for Thought of the Parkview Mission, and I'm quite active in Quaker Memorial Presbyterian Church, where I facilitate a support group, and I'm currently on the session. And I would hope that I could be appointed to the school board because I know education is important, and I advocate for children and teachers. Children need to know they are loved, seen, and heard, as well as being safe. I realize from personal experience how hard educators work. If appointed to the school board, I would work hard to represent the schools. It would be an honor to serve. I am ready to serve my community. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you please share your name?
Oh, sorry. I'm Margaret Dyerly legally, but I'm actually go by Peggy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And what district are you in? You're District 2. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mark Tinsley. I'm in District 2, and I think it's a pretty presumptuous to say that I'm qualified for anything, but I will share my background and experiences, and you can decide if I'm qualified or not. I've committed my life to education. I've always been a teacher in some capacity, and currently am a professor at Central Virginia Community College, where I teach geology, earth science, and oceanography. But I've been at many different levels. I've taught middle school. I actually substituted back in 2000 here in the Lynchburg City School System. I've taught flying lessons on a more technical educational level. I've been at the military schoolhouse. I'll get to my military experience in a few minutes. But education has been a mantra and a foundation of my life. My personal education has been important to me as well. I currently have 8 college degrees, ranging from English and fine arts to the geosciences, religion, theology, and law. I'm currently working on an MBA. I don't know what's wrong with me. There's something wrong with my head, but I love education, and I continue to seek out learning opportunities. Have many other professional qualifications, including professional geologist. I'm a private investigator. I'm a certified flight instructor and commercial pilot. I'm a fellow with the Geological Society of London, of all places. Received many awards and recognitions over the years. I've graduated at the top of most of my classes in college and military. Civilian, was valedictorian of my high school class, summa cum laude, graduate of high distinction in graduate school programs, distinguished honor graduate of military programs. Was recently recognized by the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky as a Kentucky colonel, just like Colonel Sanders, for my service to community and education. I'm a 27-year veteran of the United States Army. I am a full-bird colonel in the Army, currently serving the 76th Operational Response Command in Salt Lake City, Utah. I've been on 2 overseas deployments, multiple mobilizations. I spent 4.5 years at the Army schoolhouse, one of the Army schoolhouses down at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I'm also a pastor. I've been pastored several churches here in Lynchburg City over the years. But again, education has been in teaching and mentoring and guiding have been a part of my life. I do agree with my colleague who just spoke that education is essential. I love students, I love faculty, I love teachers, and I want to do my part to serve this community in supporting all of the above. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Colonel Tinsley, and thank you for your service.
Good evening. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Selena Morgan, and I am here as an applicant for the Lynchburg City School Board, District 1, as a mother of 4 children, 2 at EC Glass, 1 at Heritage High School, 1 at Dunbar, and 2 at Bedford Hills. and someone who has dedicated their career to empowering young women and serving as a mentor and foster parent within our city, I am deeply invested in the future of our education system. In my roles, including director of the Young Women's Empowerment Academy here in Lynchburg, I have consistently worked towards fostering an environment where every child feels valued and heard. This commitment extends to my desire to serve on our school board. I understand the responsibilities are involved with this role. I am committed to crafting a clear vision and setting attainable goals for our children's education from pre-K through post-graduation, ensuring transparency and accountability, and maintaining open communication between our parents, our community, and our schools, making informed decisions that prioritize our children's well-being over any politics, managing our budget effectively, and ensuring our school leadership is capable and reflective of our community values. Lynchburg values unique challenges. We face unique challenges, particularly with generational poverty, which demands intentional action. We need to engage our students directly, listen to their needs, and remove the barriers that hinder their success. I advocate for a school environment that is safe, that is inclusive, and free from unnecessary political interference. Our decisions must include perspective from school admin, teachers, students, and parents to truly reflect our community needs. I am prepared to shoulder this responsibility, to advocate for our children, and to ensure that our schools are not just places of learning, but sanctuaries where every student has the opportunity to thrive. The future of Lynchburg rests on us, and I am ready to take this challenge head on. I thank you for considering my application, and I am eager to take my experiences to absolutely change our city and our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of City Council. My name is Natul Gupta. I'm here to get reappointment to District 3, Lynchburg City School Board. I've been on board for 6 years. If you had asked me 6 years ago, what do you want to do? I'll say I'd like to make a change. Now you must be calling. It's a full-time job. It requires more than when you get into the board what it takes. As you know, it's a public service. It requires multiple agency coordination, which is City Council, State, City Attorney's Office. All these groups work together. And in the last 6 years, I think we have been able to achieve certain things. Like when I joined the board, we had $10 minimum wage. We fought for living wages, went up to 15. But resource constraints have constrained further increases. Teacher salaries have gone up to $47,000. Last year, what we did was we put parents on the school board. We made sure that the environment is there for learning. So there was an ad hoc committee on discipline being appointed. The policies are coming through the system now. So by the end of next month, hopefully most of those policies will go in place. So the next goal for next year will be to create an environment where we can reduce the achievement gap. That's very important. That needs to happen. As my friend Dr. Dave will tell you, every time we start talking about academics, there's a distraction at our door, which takes our focus away from reading, writing, and math. If our students are reading at 50 percentile, that's not an acceptable thing under any circumstance. So that needs to change, and that'll be my focus for next year is once the discipline environment is fixed in the school system, teachers feel safe, and there's an environment conducive to learning, which should be conducive to learning. And then the focus should be on the academics. We are here to provide a quality education, and that's the sole purpose of a school board and a school district is. So my goal for next 3 years will be and I'm only one of the 9 school board members. So along with my other colleagues and Dr. Day is here tonight to make sure that the focus is one lane, academics and academics and academics. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Anyone else want to speak? Any candidates?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Councilman, and Council ladies. Today I'm here to represent District 2 as an application for the school board. My name is Jabri Poe, and I am employed with the city of Lynchburg in information technology. Every day I have to solve problems. That's what I do, solve problems. But I'm here today for one thing, and that's if you look around this room, one day, everybody in this room won't be here, but our students, they're going to be our future. And if we don't focus on our students and the next generation, we could be in trouble tomorrow. So I'm here to make sure and ensure that our students' future are in the right hands. As a father who has 4 children in Lynchburg City Schools, 2 at Bedford Hills, 2 at Lincoln, and as a Lynchburg native, going through Lynchburg City Schools, I understand how Lynchburg City Schools were when I was in school, and I see now what's going on. I've looked at the action plan, and I've looked at one of the biggest issues that we have in our school, which is literacy. As I spoke earlier, I spoke about coming up with actionable items that we can actually impose that are going to increase the literacy of our students. They're going to increase how we communicate. I am heavily involved in the community. I am one of those people that started in the community service in a club called Astra when I was just 15 years old at EC Glass, and we would go to the Special Olympics and we would work. So I've been involved in community service for a very long time, and that's where my heart resides. And if you're looking for somebody who's willing to do the right thing, come up with actionable items, who can deal with budgets and understand how to make things work with just a little, then you're looking at the right person for District 2. I thank you all for your time, and I hope you all have a nice evening.
Thank you, Mr. Poe. Any other candidates here who want to speak? Okay. I'll now open the floor to any citizens present who would like to comment upon any of the names that have been submitted or offer additional names for consideration. Please state your name and school district for the record.
Dr. Beth White, District 2. I want to wholeheartedly endorse Mark Tinsley. I've known Mark for well over 20 years. I worked with him at Liberty University. I worked with his wife as well. Mark is a stand-up guy. I've had the pleasure of helping him navigate the challenges of GI Bill and just the patience that he has shown as we went through a number of those processes. If anybody's ever had to deal with the VA, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Mark has always been available in the community. I know he worked some with Parkview Missions Church and just the great work they do there in the community. He would be a tremendous asset to Lynchburg City School Board.
Anyone else? Hello.
All right, my name is Olivia Raj, and I am a city resident here. I consider myself a community leader and an advocate, especially for our Black and brown teens here in the city. But I'm not going to talk about me. This is my first time actually attending a city council meeting. I'm super excited because I watch online all the time, so I'm always engaged. But I'm honored to speak on the occasion to support my friend in District 1, Miss Selena Morgan. I wish our teens were here today because they could eloquently speak on why she should be appointed for this, because she has just hands-on experience and relationship with a lot of the students in our school system. So let me just share a little bit personally why. I had a rough year last year after leaving my job, and I had amazing friends come and support me after leaving a job. But Selena was one of those friends, and I bring that up because Selena is someone that is surrounded with the people that are here that are not seen, that are with the teens in the community. She's behind the scenes doing things and teaching us and listening to us. I spend time listening to what the teens need, and it's so awesome to get to sit with a friend and her being there. And when I wanted to give up, she was always like, Raj, you persevere, don't you give up, even though I wanted to sit in my emotions and my feelings. So I thank you so much for who you are. You do spend a lot of time with our most vulnerable teens, the very teens that we talk about. And I know that's just one part of such a big city, but I speak on that because those are some of the issues that we talk about and that we vote on and all of those things. I've seen my friend mentor in school with us as we're at our different schools. I'm sitting with the students and hearing from them, and it's a pleasure to be with you in that. I love mentoring with you alongside of your organization for the Young Women's Empowerment Academy, YWEA. So she's still showing up time after time. One of the last things I want to comment on is a lot of us, when we're done with work, we leave it at work. We're like, hey, I'm done today. I'm just gonna leave all that there, but Selena, it's a little different for her as a foster mother. She gets to go back home to that and still makes a difference in those girls' lives, and I love seeing her do that, and she truly practices what she preaches. So thank you for constantly asking me and my husband to be foster parents. One day we will. I support you in that, in all that you do. Thank you so much for changing my life and being my friend. I hope everyone else can personally get to know you and truly know, just as a personal testament, that she is someone that I support and highly, highly, highly recommend for the school board.
Hello. Kimberly Dyke Harsley. I'm not really sure what school district, Lincoln and Easy Glass. I'm glad I came tonight because I wasn't aware there was a school board. People come up and say who, but after listening to who has come forward so far, thank you to foster mom, Miss Morgan. And you also have 4 children in school, so I support you. I continue to support Dr. Gupta. And he's very to the point, but he's also very considerate. And I also support Jabri Poe. I volunteer and see him. He doesn't do a lot of flabbergasting, but when he speaks, there's a solution, and it's generally what should be done. So those 3 I support, and I wish the best to all who make it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jasmine Payne Winchester, and I reside in the city of Lynchburg. I'm also an educator in our Lynchburg City School System, and I teach 11th and 12th graders at Heritage and East Glass High School. I'm here to speak and show my support on behalf of Selena Morgan, who have known over 10 years and have been able to watch her firsthand in her efforts to help our community youth. She runs the Lynchburg chapter of the nonprofit Young Women's Empowerment Academy organization. I am also a parent of a daughter that is part of this organization and has succeeded in many ways since being involved. She has been a great asset to these young women and has allowed them to see and know that their ethnicity and economic status does not limit their future goals and dreams. She has taken youth groups as young as middle school age on college and culture tours to Liberty University, Sweetbriar, Howard University, Spelman, Clark Atlanta, and Morehouse, to name a few. Mrs. Morgan took out of her busy schedule as a wife, foster mother, and so many things that she does in the community to go with me to chaperone a group of our Lynchburg City School students for 3 days in New York City. She was not compensated for those 3 days, and she did it willingly, and the students enjoyed her company. She's willing to help our youth and community in every way that she can to make sure they have the best education and educational opportunities possible. I would say she models our mission in Lynchburg City Schools, every child by name and by need to graduation and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Eileen Lass, and I've lived most of my 65 years in District 1 in Lynchburg, and I am also speaking on behalf of Selena Morgan. You've heard the stories, you've heard her qualifications. I was just summarizing. She has the mind that we need on our city school board. She knows our city. She's worked for our city. She knows our students inside and out. She knows our schools. She also has the heart. She loves students. She loves teachers. She loves administrators, and she loves the families of the Lynchburg City School students. What I've seen in my time of friendship with Selena is her commitment. And again, we've heard about the Young Women's Empowerment Academy. She has her own children. She also foster parents. She's involved in the school as a volunteer, and I think she could bring a great benefit to the city school board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Sam City. You're going to hear from me again later, but I live in District 2, and I want to speak as a parent of 2 kids at Sheffield Elementary, and my husband is also a teacher at Heritage High School, which some of you, for better or for worse, have interacted with in the past. But when I think about school board appointments, I think about my kids who are both in elementary school, but I also consider my own childhood as well, growing up in a single parent home, oldest of 4 in Durham, North Carolina. And as a result, I wasn't given as many opportunities as other students had in my class. And so in my many volunteer capacities in the community, I've worked with Selena through the YWEA, partnering with some other organizations, and she understands those struggles. She understands that, and I know Dr. Gupta mentioned earlier focusing just on academics, and with all due respect, it's very hard for a child to focus on academics where they're being bounced from foster care to foster care, or there's trouble at home, or there's something else going on. And she understands that, and I think she understands that whole dynamic of it's about the whole child. She is passionate about seeing our young women and empowering them and strengthening them. You've already heard about the college tours, all sorts of great colleges. And I follow her on Facebook, and she just shows all the different things that she's doing in our community, especially with our young women. So just want to give my 2 cents on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Are there any voicemails from citizens?
There are none.
Okay. Traditionally, council chooses to hold over the public hearing to the following meeting to allow for more citizen input and the opportunity to receive more applications. Is there a consensus from council to leave this public hearing open for the May 28th council meeting? Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Next section is public comment. During the public comment, Individual speakers have 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group have 5 minutes to speak. Typically, City Council takes comments made during the public comment section of the agenda under advisement and may refer concerns to the city manager for follow-up. Citizens often express conflicting and diverse positions regarding specific issues under consideration. To encourage citizen participation and to avoid intimidation to persons who may express sometimes unpopular opinions, applause, cheers, or jeers from the audience are not permitted. When appearing before City Council, citizens may not engage in behavior that intimidates or insults others, engage in disruptive behavior, or use profanity or vulgar language, promote private business ventures, or campaign for office. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding decorum, Mr. Timothy Santiago. I don't see Timothy. You see him? No? Okay. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding qualifications of a school board member, Dr. Martin Day. Please restate your name and locality of residence.
Good evening. I am Martin Day. I live in Ward 4, School District 2. This is my second year on the school board, currently serving as vice chair. I'm speaking to you as an individual, however, not as a representative of the board. When I joined the board in July 2022, I did not realize all that it would entail. So for the benefit of you who must appoint new members, as well as those who are considering serving on the board, I want to give a brief description of some things that a board member needs to be prepared for. The board sets the policies that govern the operations of the schools and is legally responsible for virtually all aspects of the school's operations and compliance with all laws and regulations. The primary responsibilities are given in the state's Standards of Quality, Title 22.1, Chapter 13.2 of the State Code. Individuals may be motivated to join the board by an interest in particular issues, but once on the board, they are responsible for it all. The full board typically meets twice a month, once in a board meeting, once in a work session. These are evening meetings which can run for several hours. There are 4 standing committees of the board, each consisting of 3 board members. There are several policy work groups consisting of 2 board members together with appropriate staff. There are also governing boards for several school-affiliated organizations and regional facilities like the Governor's School, the Laurel Regional Program, Partners in Education, and others. Each of those have a representative from the school board. There are over 15 such committees, working groups, and governing bodies, which include 1 or more school board members. They will all have meetings on some regular basis. Board members participate in many more than just 2 meetings per month. A new board member will be required to take an oath of office, which makes them an officer of the Commonwealth. State law requires an annual financial statement and other legal and professional development trainings. Ultimately, it is up to each board member to participate in the appropriate trainings. An individual board member has no authority or power on their own. Only decisions made by the board as a corporate body are authoritative. The board's decision-making takes place only in official public meetings and under the parliamentary procedures of Robert's Rules of Order, so some initial familiarity with that is helpful. It's easy for an overawed board member to passively wait for the staff to bring proposals to them for endorsement. But to do the job properly requires engagement with the issues and initiative to learn about the current state of affairs, relevant laws and policies. One should study meeting agenda in advance and come to meetings prepared and informed, ready to participate in the discussion and vote on the action items. Under current policies, board members receive no stipend. New board members should expect their duties to dominate their life during their years of service. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will now hear from a group representative regarding the International Festival, Latino Community Center of Lynchburg, Vicente Gonzalez. Please restate your name, group, represented, and locality of residence.
Hi, I'm Vicente. I'm here to talk about International Festival. Where's the time? Oh, there it is, okay. First, I want to highlight that it's Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. The city of Lynchburg needs to do a better job of recognizing these important heritage celebrations. There has still been no formal recognition of the city of Lynchburg for AAPI Heritage Month. There was no recognition last month of Arab American Heritage Month. And the city barely takes any action in the fall for Latino and Hispanic Heritage Month. This lack of action communicates to our communities that we do not matter. Today, I want to talk about the cancellation of the annual International Festival and the inconsistent messaging released to the community. Language is important. The words we use shape our understanding of who belongs and who doesn't. I think the language of International Festival frames our communities as if we are innately foreign, when we have been part of this city for generations. AAPI, Latino, Arab, and Middle Eastern history is not only American history, but it is Lynchburg history. This festival is not a mere celebration of cultures across the world, but cultures that are an essential part of our community and a fundamental part of the American story. I am extremely disappointed in what transpired a short while ago with the cancellation of the festival. The city released conflicting statements. It's an extreme fear tactic for city council members to publicly bash organizations and individuals. It's a form of intimidation and counterproductive to the efforts of providing a safe platform for all Lynchburg residents to participate in public comment and local government. The city was too quick to cancel the festival, and I am sure if this was any other event, the city would have gone through great lengths to keep the event on schedule as planned. But I think the underlying issue is that the International Festival is not valued, as well as the hard work of the various communities connected to it. There is a lot of resistance to changing demographics and the surge of diversity this city is seeing. Lynchburg needs to recognize that multiculturalism is essential for its survival. There seems to be a deep lack of understanding of what culture is and why it is important. Culture is not just merely food, dance, music, and cultural garb, but rather a lens by which we perceive the world around us. Culture is perceptions, attitudes, and belief systems. When we open ourselves to diverse cultures, we engage in a much richer world, full of knowledge, creativity, and possibility. When we uplift ethnic American communities, we uplift everyone. It is becoming apparent that ethnic communities are not valued, and I fear if this does not change, Lynchburg will be isolating itself from its full educational and economic potential. Lynchburg city government needs to make amends with the vendors, performers, and the Lynchburg community. We need transparency of if sincere threats were made against the festival and the decision-making process which resulted in its cancellation. We need recognition for the contributions of African, Asian American, Pacific Islander, Latino, Indigenous, and Arab and Middle Eastern communities to our city. Lastly, I would like to continue to vocalize support for the passing of a resolution calling for a ceasefire in Gaza.
God bless Israel.
We call on the two progressive members of the council to work with constituents in drafting a resolution and presenting it to the council. Thank you for letting me speak today.
Now hear from a group representative regarding creating a safe, inclusive city for all, and one that includes inclusion of the LGBTQIA+ community. Church of the Covenant, Dan Harrison. Please restate your name, group represented, and locality of residence. And let me remind our citizens to please keep your applause silent and also comments to yourself. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. My name is Dan Harrison, like you said. I live on Boonesboro Road. I'm one of the pastors at Church of the Covenant. Obviously, I'm sick today, but I'm here. I come here on behalf of my church because there seems to be a mix-up in who to be angry with. I wanted to redirect your anger away from these beautiful people that sit behind me and the people they represent. And why? Because my predecessors in this role stood the same ground I hold today, and for similar reasons, taking on the embodiment of what it means to be inclusive, to stand against inequality, racial and gender and sexual bigotry, when and where it appears. Our founding and longtime pastor, Bev Cosby, was rejected by Baptists, Methodists, Lutherans, and Presbyterians in this very city when starting his church in 1954, because it was to be intentionally racially integrated from its start. And then when students were arrested and jailed for the Patterson drug store sit-in in 1960, a member of the church among them, Bev ensured a coffee house would be created as a safe space for all races, all genders, sexual orientations, and identities, and even all faiths or no faith. It was called the Lodge of the Fishermen, opening its doors on our property in 1961, even hosting Dr. Martin Luther King in 1962. And it still continues today. Often being called communists because we defended the poor and stood against inequalities throughout the city, including inequitable housing and racial targeting. Bev and the church suffered the anger of the right-wing nationalists of our city through decades. Molotov cocktails were thrown down our road and vandalism was a regular occurrence. But we maintained our safe spaces as a community together. So when Mr. Misjins posted transphobic posts on his Facebook a few years ago, the organization that engaged with him, the fire department and the city in dialogue, was headquartered at Church of the Covenant. And it was our honor to host Queer Town Hall since its formation many months ago as well. Or Food Not Bombs when it started, or Lynchburg for Palestine, or Immigrant Support Network, and the list goes on and on. So if you want to hate anyone, hate me. You will no doubt call me a liberal agitator, a communist, a wolf in sheep's clothing, leading the flock astray. All because we as a community have strived to live out the principles Jesus taught us, creating a safe community, a safe space, a place that acknowledges the oppression and marginalization by society of groups of people, the least of these, whether it be the disabled, immigrants, queer and trans people, people of color, people of other religions, or even people with no faith at all. In fact, it was of a gay, pagan Roman commander that Jesus said, "There is no one greater in all this land, no one of faith as great as this man." Or when the Samaritan woman, or dare I say Palestinian woman, asked Jesus, "Which mountain should I worship on?" Jesus, in so many words, said, "Neither. God only seeks those who worship in spirit and with honesty." And in John chapter 8, when the religious leaders accused Jesus of being Samaritan, dare I say Palestinian, clearly an insult, Jesus did not deny it, not because he was or wasn't of Palestinian blood, but because he had already put himself in solidarity with the suffering of those around him. The Palestinians were his friends. He elevated them in his stories and included them in the narrative of hope for the entire world. So it's no wonder that the most ostracized by religious institutions, namely the queer and trans, are aligned in solidarity with the people who are suffering under apartheid law in Israel. My heart aches for the hostages and so many Israeli victims who lost their lives, and the traumas that are coming from that forever. It's beyond my own comprehension of what happened on October 7th, but the response to obliterate an entire people group and the oldest, longest living Christian group in the entire world is beyond the pale. I implore you as human beings to adopt a resolution supporting not only the return of hostages, but a permanent ceasefire to end the decimation of an entire people. And if you have to hate someone, again, just hate me.
We'll now hear from a group representative regarding Period Poverty Awareness Week, Period Access Distribution Center, Samantha City. Please restate your name and group represented and locality residence.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of City Council again. My name is Sam City. I am a resident of Fort Hill over at Ward 3. And over the past year, I've had the honor and privilege to serve as committee chair of our Period Access Distribution Center, which is a program of the Junior League of Lynchburg. And today I would like to talk about Period Poverty Awareness Week, which is next week, and how period poverty, try saying that 3 times fast, has impacted the Lynchburg community. Period poverty is when someone struggles to purchase period products due to lack of income or access. As a result, women and girls are having to miss out on daily life, such as work and school. Period products are not covered by food stamps or Medicaid. It's an average of $20 a month, which can be very expensive. If anything, there are some states that add an additional tax known as a tampon tax to period products because they are considered a luxury. I'm happy to note that Virginia is not one of those states, but there's still a lot of work left to be done in the Commonwealth. Nationally, roughly 2 out of 5 women struggle with obtaining period products in Lynchburg. Nationally, 2 out of 5 women struggle with obtaining period products. In Lynchburg, about 20% of our residents live below the poverty line as of 2022. Of all women who live below the poverty line, 47% are between the ages of 18 and 24. Additionally, 70% of all those who live below the poverty line are women with no spouse present. With so many women impacted by poverty, it is crucial that their needs are met in order for them to live their daily lives, including going to work and attending school. I believe period poverty has an economic impact. Without period supplies, women are unable to go to work. As a result, women aren't able to earn money, they're not able to shop, and the avalanche goes down. For those who may not know, the Junior League of Lynchburg was established in 1926, so we'll be celebrating 100 years in a couple of years. In 2021, the Junior League saw a need to address period poverty and established the Period Access Distribution Center, otherwise known as the PAD Center. The goal is to provide monthly period kits for any woman in Lynchburg who is in need. We've partnered with Gleaning for the World for the use of their warehouse and with the YWCA of Central Virginia, who allowed us to house the PAD Center. And I also have the privilege of serving on their board as well. We've also recently partnered with Parkview Community Mission with delivering products to community partners. We've worked with Lynchburg City Schools to address period poverty among students, as this was an expressed need as a result of the GSA grant last fall. Currently, we are serving up to 200 women with monthly kits. Next week is Period Poverty Awareness Week, where we are spreading awareness of this crucial issue in our community. The needs are great, and there's a lot of work left to be done. I mentioned earlier, Virginia does not have a state tax. That being said, according to the Code of Virginia, there is a mandate for every school system to supply period products free of charge. However, this is an unfunded mandate. Since we're now in the season of appointing school board members, I ask that you consider potential members that will make sure that this will continue to be a priority in our schools so that our students can attend school without fear of embarrassment. I also ask that you consider supplying free period supplies in government buildings if that isn't done already. And lastly, I would like for each of you to consider how you can partner with us. Many community members and businesses such as Redora, right up the road, and Collaborative Healthcare have held product drives on behalf of the PAD Center. We are also partnering with the United Way next week for their Day of Caring to pack kits for our June deliveries. We are grateful for our community partners, and we'll be grateful for your support as well. Thank you for your time and listening, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will now hear from a citizen regarding Gaza and our role in the conflict. Ricardo Munoz Morales Torres. Please restate your name and locality of residence.
My name is Ricardo Munoz Morales Torres. I live on Lakeside Drive in Lynchburg. I would like to start off by commenting on the company BWXT, whose branches can be found right here in Lynchburg, and how it pertains to us in the genocide in Gaza. Last October, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin announced that the Pentagon would be deploying the U.S. Navy's newest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, along with a strike group to stand off the coast of Palestine to work with the Israeli occupation at their discretion. You may ask, what does this have to do with us? Lynchburg houses a cell of this company. BWXT manufactures nuclear reactor cores for naval ships such as aircraft carriers, submarines, the same type of aircraft carrier that occupies the waters off the coast of Palestine and is being used by the United States to oppress the Palestinian people. What does our support of the presence of this company say about us as a city? It says that we do not care about our Palestinian, Muslim, and Arab communities. How are these communities supposed to feel safe when we are actively supporting the very establishments and institutions that are actively aiding the genocide of these governments, aiding the genocide and the governments that are carrying out unspeakable atrocities? Our Palestinian, Muslim, and Arab communities have the right to feel safe in this town. We cannot ignore the fact that we are denying their right to feel safe in this community. Moving on, the situation in Gaza and the area of Rafah is dire and deeply concerning. Every moment, every day that we do not take action, more innocent blood is spilled. There are over 1.5 million people in Rafah who have fled from place to place in search of safety that will never be found. Civilians are being bombed day in and day out without a moment to rest from the constant fear, death, and heartbreak. As humans, it is our duty to amplify their voices and stand with them during this time of death and destruction. Right now, famine is imminent. People just like you and me are forced to choose which of their family members are to die from starvation first. Our history books will write a tale, one of loss, one of suffering, one of strength and combined humanity, but also a tale of brutality, complicity, and silence. These same history books that will keep record of historical events will also testify against those who chose one of the most grievous of actions, the action of inaction. We will remember, and future generations will remember, what we did during this time of inhumanity. The Palestinians must be liberated from oppression. We must stand together in solidarity and unity with the people of Palestine and all other indigenous communities fighting for liberation. We must do something, anything in our power to stop this madness. As the City Council presiding over Lynchburg, it is your duty to represent the city and the people of Lynchburg. The citizens of Lynchburg are demanding that you pass a ceasefire resolution immediately, and you must respond. Together, we can stand on the right side of history along with Harrisonburg and Charlottesville and collectively with other cities across the United States calling for a ceasefire. Together, let us be a part of a movement that will show President Biden that we want this genocide to stop immediately. Free Palestine.
Okay, next section is general business. This section includes general items of new business. First reading of the adoption of the fiscal year 2025 budget. Consideration of adopting an ordinance increasing the water, sewer, and stormwater rates. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Wilder?
You know, the rates have pretty much already been set. They're based on certain factors that are outside of our normal control because of the cost. So it's a self-sustaining fund. So I agree with the recommendation from the city.
Okay, Councilman Taylor?
No, go ahead.
Okay, any discussion? Councilman Helgeson?
Yeah, I guess we got several things that are before us tonight. You know, I recognize this isn't one of them, but we have several other items on our budget that I don't think would be appropriate for us to vote on it tonight since the state just adopted. I guess I'll reserve the comments for those, especially with the school funding. Some of those I don't think are appropriate to vote on tonight. That should be tabled. And I think we have plenty of time, if some of those items are tabled, to have the two readings. But this item that deals with increasing the sewer, the water, and the stormwater rates, I just, you know, I can understand what has been stated by our Director of Water Resources, our consent order, but I wish we could really get a handle on this. There's some of these items that don't need to increase. We don't have a consent order for water and stormwater rates. We do have a consent order for our sewer with regarding the combined sewer overflow. And so I wish we would be a little more diligent to find ways that we don't just pass on additional costs onto our citizens. And so I'll be voting against this.
Any other discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hegelson?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
No.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
No.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 4-3.
Okay, moving on. Consideration of introducing a resolution appropriating the fiscal year 2025 general fund operating budget, excluding discretionary external service providers and schools operating budget. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Wilder?
I'm trying to find my list of all the discretionary items. Again, we support a couple of different services in our community. There are different partners that help make our city function even better. So there's some funds that are set aside for those organizations that support our city, the various functions that support our city. Thank you.
Councilman Taylor?
I'm going to defer to city manager for this. Help me with this.
The different ones, what are the lists there?
This ordinance we're voting on, you're voting on here, council, is not related to the discretionary service providers. This is related to the operating budget, setting aside those discretionary service providers and the school's operating funds. The discretionary service providers are going to come up further down the line for individual votes, at which point.
That's what the council had requested that. And so
These are the funds that we had already set aside for the schools.
that's separate. This is the operating budget.
This is the operating budget for next fiscal year, for fiscal year 2025.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Mischins?
I've got some concerns with the operating budget just based on the fact that, we're looking at a potential $6 million swing, 5.8 it looks like. I've actually got it up right in front of me, the conference report from HB 30, which is the past budget from the Commonwealth. And with that 5.8 million increase in state funding, that has the potential to also impact our operating budget for the city. Because if we're getting an additional $5.8 million from the Commonwealth, then that begs the question, how does that impact what we're doing locally and other priorities that we may have kind of held off on or things like that? So with that being said, looking at this information, the conversation that we had earlier today, I think they said there was somewhere in the ballpark of 7,300 and some odd ADM. And right now the FY25 projected ADM for Lynchburg City Schools is 7,161 with a budget of 74,636,000, somewhere in that ballpark. And the ordinance that we have is showing 68.8 million. If we were to move forward, we would end up potentially passing the ordinance showing the 68.8 million on it, with a significant increase in state funding based on the conference report that's right here that was published today on the website. And that could have significant ramifications for our local operating budget. So with that being said, I am going to make a substitute motion for this item to table the vote on the operating budget until the next meeting. And I'm even okay with a special meeting next week if that's what's necessary. But there's just a lot more information we need. We're talking about a swing of $6 million here potentially in the school budget. We need to know what that looks like and what we're able to do with that. I think the school division needs to know what that looks like. And I think it would be prudent for us to understand how we're spending our citizens' money before we actually do it. So with that being the case, I make a substitute motion that we table this item and the rest of the general business items moving forward until I'm flexible to a special meeting next week or a meeting on the 28th, our next meeting.
So for clarification. So this is item B.
Correct. So B through I, just, let's table it.
B through the rest. I think there may.
Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it just for discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The reason being is maybe not all of this needs to be tabled. There may be some things that we could actually vote on. But the point.
Accept a friendly amendment on that.
But the point is clear that, it's a difference between 6 million and actually the numbers that Councilman Mischin said of the projected 7161 ADM. It's actually, I think schools today said it's another 200. So 200 more kids, the ADM, if it's increased another 200, that's another 1.2 million. So we're looking at a swing of 5.8 million to another 7 million. And so with that should, since the state, again, this isn't, the state just approved the budget after numerous meetings and special sessions. They just approved it just a couple days ago. And I talked with our deputy city manager today about all the different items and all the moving parts. I think it's probably would be a little prudent and it may be a little rash for us to vote ahead of time. I think there are several of these items that we could probably vote for tonight or vote that don't, because I think the major one, maybe, Greg, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the major difference on the state budget is going to be the difference on the school funding. Is that the biggest one?
That's correct.
So
if you look at all of the ordinances in front of you related to the budget today, there are two that are related to school funding. That would be C, which is the schools non-closure reserve, and F, the FY 2025 schools operating budget by major classification. The other items are unrelated to the school funding and probably are not going to be impacted by any of the adjustments in the state budget materially.
And so even though on this resolution that we have before us, that shows the total of 235 million on resolution R-24, it has the component units, but there's a footnote, so those component units are separate.
They're appropriated in a different ordinance, if I understand that correctly.
Okay. And so with that, if we could, maybe have a friendly amendment if possible, to amend the motion to table the two items that we are sure that are going to be different than what was presented, and that is item C and item, F. And the reason being, as I think Councilman Mischin said, what was presented to City Council and to city staff was a school budget that assumed there's going to be about $68 million coming from the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth. With that, we just got the passage, just happened yesterday. They're talking about it in the news, that all the different things are happening. Several months ago, I said I think the state is going to pitch in an additional $4 million. I was a little conservative and underestimated. It looks like, as Councilmember Mischin said, anywhere from 5.8 million to, if their ADM that they presented earlier today is actually 200 more than the 7161, you're looking at additional 1.2 million. So you're looking at anywhere from 5.8 million up to about $7 million. So I hope we can table those two items because those are unknowns. And then, so if you take that as a friendly amendment.
I think I'm going to accept that as a friendly amendment, just to clarify that the local portion of this is also part of our city operating budget as far as the operating revenue is concerned, correct? So if there was any change to that local amount, that would also impact ordinance on bullet number B or not? No.
We moved it out.
Okay, so then I guess the proper amended motion would be then to go ahead and approve B and then table C and F, because there's no point in tabling C and F as a substitute motion. or we can just withdraw it and vote on B.
Well, I think so the friendly amendment was, not under B, but, oh, yes, you're right. So,
Yep.
so B,
So right now, we're substitute to B, so.
so the motion was made to approve B, correct?
Yes.
And so if the whole thing is withdrawn until C comes up, is what you're saying? I
That's
think
right.
that,
Yep.
yeah, that makes
That's
sense.
right. Can't table something, we're not gonna, so I'll accept your amendment. By accepting your amendment, I end up withdrawing the table.
Yep, under item B.
We're voting on B.
Item B as presented, yep.
Just so you know, this plan we're hearing about right now has been at least underway since last night, so. it's
That's a
not-
lie.
No, it's not, but we'll call the vote. Let's call the vote. We're voting on B as it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hilbison?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Consideration of adopting a resolution regarding the fiscal year 2025 schools non-closure reserve. May I have a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Councilman Mischins.
Got a motion to table the ordinance for item C.
Second.
Do you want to speak to that again?
Sure, I do want to speak to that, and I also want to address that there's been no plan since last night. That is a completely fictitious statement.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I actually
Councilman
didn't
Taylor
read.
could talk to that.
At the table, Madam Mayor. The conference report, I didn't read until today. And it makes sense. We're being prudent. We're talking about a $6 to $7 million swing with our citizens' money, our taxpayer dollars. If we were to vote on this now, when the information just became available today, because it was just passed yesterday, then it would be irresponsible. It would be unwise. I just don't think it makes sense for us to vote on this with all the information that's been made available today, which I just emailed to everybody with a conference report. I think, are you looking at that now, Deputy City Manager?
Yes, we're going to need the COC tool that DOE will upload hopefully shortly to truly understand what it means, because there are some items in that report that are where schools is a fiscal agent, it's pass-through money, or it's treated as grant funds. But I understand your
But
point.
it's a potentially huge swing when you look at it. Yes. On face value. And, there's a lot of concerns about schools and available funding and, where we were at with the budget this year. And this has the potential to relieve some of the stress that has been put on our budget by additional state funding. And I just think it would be wise for us to pass on this for 2 more weeks and get all the information and figure it out.
And I seconded this because it is very prudent. I spoke with the deputy city manager. I didn't think the state was going to pass the budget. Obviously, we couldn't talk about what the state has passed until the state passed it. The state just passed it. The city hasn't got all the exact numbers. And speaking with Greg Patrick earlier today about what numbers, the numbers kind of have gone all over. It now looks like we have fairly definitive numbers with regarding how much the state is going to be contributing. The city had in its budget with the level funding amount was making the assumption that only $68 million was coming from the state of Virginia. Now we're seeing clearly that it's at least 74 million, maybe more. Now, are all those numbers exactly without any strings? We don't know. That's why I think it's prudent to table this, because we're unsure. If they all have strings attached to it, that additional 5.8 million, well, then we have to do something different. But if we don't, and we don't have that number. I got a feeling that most of those are not going to have strings attached, because I think most of it is an increase in basic aid. Most of it is an increase in extra funding by the state. With that being the case, that helps the schools and the school board and the school administration alleviate what their problem was. With that being the case, it just passed a day or so ago. Having some prudence to say, city, look at those numbers that just passed. If we have the vote on this item in 2 weeks, we're not under any level of a gun, because we have to have 2 readings on the budget, which would easily be, the first reading on this one could be May 28th, and the second one would be the second meeting, or our first meeting in June, which would give us plenty of time. Greg, if you can, what are the requirements for us adopting the school budget? Are we under a gun that we have to approve this tonight, or is it?
I'd ask our city attorney to confirm this, but my understanding is there's 2 bits of language that will sort of control when things must be funded. First is the appropriation rules, which are, there must be at least 3 days in between readings of the required 2 readings. The other is a local governing body must adopt education funding by either May 15th or within 30 days of receiving the funding estimate from the state. So that clock probably has started ticking at this point until we get the calc tool.
And the budget has to be adopted, obviously, in this fiscal year.
June 30th.
By June 30th. So again, I appreciate the fact that we've cut a few meetings short on our budget work session, that we have the flexibility. I'm glad the state has finally approved the budget, and I think it wouldn't be a bad idea. It'd be prudent for us to just simply table this item for this item, and I guess wasn't in the motion, but this item as well as the later one, F, as we come to it, for just 2 weeks.
Dr. Wilder?
Yes, thank you. Just for clarification, for C, it says to ensure the purpose of helping ensure that Sandusky Elementary and T.C. Miller schools remain open. So is that correct here? So is the state funding information we got yesterday, how would that affect this section here?
So what that resolution would do, C, it was designed to take $1.6 million of city money and put it in a reserve that would be held on the city's books in case when the state funding was finalized, there wasn't sufficient funding to cover the cost of keeping those 2 schools open in the 24-25 educational year. It is actually not appropriating funds. It's just setting aside funds in those reserves. What we're thinking is likely going to happen now that we have the state numbers, or some idea of the state numbers, is that the state will provide more than enough funding, potentially, to cover that $1.6 million that's needed. In which case, if that's the case, in theory, you wouldn't necessarily need to set that city funding aside. That's the thinking.
Just as an addition, that there was a concern generally to model to the parents, students, what have you, of the 2 different schools, that there was going to be resources enough for the school to remain open to thwart some of the stuff that you were talking about earlier about attrition out, not anybody deciding to the application pool and that type of thing. So positioning it here was for that express purpose, and it wasn't going to be appropriated. It was going to be put into a reserve and used if and when necessary.
So if it's not needed, it would be used. Correct. Okay, thank you.
No, I see no point in not doing it, because for this very reason, if it's not needed, it will not be used. I have a problem with all these folks out there that are thinking that we told them that we were going to support this so that the schools would remain open through 2025. I would not support not supporting this.
Councilman Taylor?
This is a safety net for the schools.
As we discussed at your previous meeting, it was the consensus was to ensure that there was resources enough that these schools would be open, and that would be modeled to the people that were in the chambers, that that they could enroll their children and be prepared to go to school there next year.
Next year. And I move that we approve it.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is a substitute motion that's tabling. I think you intended that it was C and F to the next meeting. Is that correct?
Just C was the motion.
The motion.
We're on C.
Yeah, because we're on C.
Correct. I understand that. But did you want to include F because your previous substitute motion was C and F?
No.
He didn't.
I didn't.
Okay, no. All right. So substitute motion is that you want to table C to the next meeting, and it was seconded by Councilman Helgeson. Did you still want to speak? Did you want to speak?
Let's clear this up. It's my understanding there was a motion to table item number C. And then if it's Larry's intent to have a substitute motion to approve item C.
Yes. Second his motion.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion.
No.
No?
There was an outright motion for item number, to table item C. Now we have a
Okay.
substitute motion to approve item C.
Okay.
So we're on a substitute motion to approve item C versus tabling it.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, so Councilman Taylor, you want to speak to it? Anything further?
Yes, what we're doing is right. It's necessary to keep our children and parents in stable positions. You know, we don't need them to be worried about moving this May to another place. We give them a year, and as been stated, if we do not need these funds, they will go back into the Treasury. So I move to approve.
Okay. Dr. Wilder?
Just again, it's only a safety net. If they're not needed, it will not be used. So I support that motion as well. Thank you. I don't want any misclarifications about they're pulling it or they're not going to keep the school open. I think we've yo-yoed them enough. I think we need to go ahead and get this done and move on. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Yep.
Councilman Helgeson?
To be clear, I think we've kind of got over our skis here. The motion wasn't to deny it.
Correct.
The motion was simply because being prudent because we just got the state numbers. And as our city attorney and deputy city attorney said, the whole purpose of this was to make sure there was ample funds for the school board to do what they wanted to do. So simply tabling it because we just got these numbers is not tantamount to denying it. All it was is the prudence of saying, let's not vote on it today, let's vote on it in 2 weeks once we actually have the numbers. It's prudence. And so I do hope that you will, it should be clear, it's not denying it. It's tabling it for 2 weeks, so then we can vote on it in favor in 2 weeks with no problem. So,
Councilman Missions?
So I won't be supporting the substitute motion for the reasons that Councilmember Helgeson just stated, and also fully intend to support the reserve if it's necessary. But we're talking about 1.6 million into a reserve fund, or 5.8 million in additional funding to the operating fund from the state. That's what we're talking about, and that's significant. And just to kind of get down to the brass tacks of this, if what is showing on the conference report from the Commonwealth budget that was passed is what stands for the city of Lynchburg, we're going to end up with a larger budget than Lynchburg City Schools requested this year. So I know that there's a lot of emotional decisions right now about T.C. Miller and Sandusky, and I get it. But what this looks like is we should be good. How did we know? We wouldn't have known. They didn't pass the budget until yesterday. And with that additional funding, I think it's prudent and wise to hold off on 2 weeks to make the decision, because we also need to remember that there was a cost associated with that reserve funding. Can you remind me what was changed in the budget to get the 1.6 million?
We moved cash funding from the White Rock project to the general fund to hold it, and we replaced that with line of credit.
So we would eliminate that financing, that debt financing, if we didn't need that 1.6 million apparently, right?
It would probably be moved to a different project.
Yeah. So now,
The line of credit funding, if we recall, was related to a previously approved computer-aided dispatch project that we are not ready to move forward with, right? So it's not new debt.
at the end of the day, if it's not necessary to set up the reserve funding because more than enough money is there, we don't need to do it. So I won't be supporting the substitute motion.
Okay, well, I'm going to call a vote on the substitute motion that Councilman Taylor called, which is to approve it. So let's go ahead and vote. Right, yeah. So the substitute motion that's on the floor is to approve the non-closure reserve, correct? That's what you motioned for?
Yes.
Yes. So let's go ahead and vote, please.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
No.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Absolutely.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, so now we'll go back to approve the actual consideration of adopting the resolution regarding the fiscal year 2025 schools non-closure reserve. So do I have a motion on that?
That's what we just changed. Now vote again.
Yeah, but who originally motioned on that one? No, because we have the substitute one.
The motion that you just approved becomes the main motion.
Okay, sorry, y'all, there's been so much going on. Forgive me. Okay, so let's go ahead and vote on that, on the original.
So real quick, we're voting on the ordinance for item B as it stands.
Resolution, yes.
C, on C.
C, okay.
Yeah, as it stands, on C.
Councilmember Dolan?
Well,
Yes.
wait, we got discussion on this one.
We already had the discussion.
No, we had discussion on should it be the main motion or not? I mean, that was the amended motion. Now it becomes the main motion.
Okay, so you want to have further
Yeah,
discussion
just
on the?
further discussion would be.
To approve the
Yeah.
resolution.
Motion approved, yes. So with that, this originally, I think it could have been, a positive thing but now we're looking at an additional 1.6 million set aside when we have 5.8 to $7 million more. With that, the original discussion for the two schools was 3.2 million. So this resolution is 1.6. Help me with the
other 1.6 came from the increased ADM projection. So when we increased from the governor's budget, when we increased that ADM from the VDOE estimate to the school's estimate, we netted about $1.6 million in new revenue, which left only a $1.6 million gap needed to keep those schools open.
And so to clarify, with what the deputy just said, is what we're recommending. Again, because what we did was originally 3.2 million, because the state or the local Lynchburg City Schools said, here's the budget numbers. Well, they underestimated their ADM. Now what came forward is their ADM was higher than estimated. So now we're already getting 1.6 million more from the state with new information. So now instead of this reserve fund being 3.2 million, it is now 1.6 million, because what we did is we waited. We used prudence because the state was providing more money with the ADM. That's the exact same thing that we're asking for with tabling this until next time. Going forward with this, which I realize not spending money, putting it in reserve is a great thing. I just recognize that we know before us today that instead of 68 million from the state for the LCS, it's going to be 74 to 76 million. So knowing that's going to be the case, I can't in good conscience vote for this, even though I recognize if we waited for 2 weeks, it may have been easy to say, yep, this number is wrong because the 74 million is going to be encumbered because like that all-in money has to be used for certain things, or the extra at-risk money has to be used for certain things. So waiting, I don't think hurts us. It would allow us to have prudent information and vote on something rather than a pig in a poke. But since you didn't want to table this to when you had the information, I'm going to have to vote against this today, which I imagine in 2 weeks I could have probably voted for it. But out of your haste, that's what happens.
Councilman Stearns.
Also, I'm required to disclose that my wife is a teacher at Lynchburg City Schools. She's part of a group of teachers in the school system, and I am able to vote on this matter objectively and impartially now that we're actually voting on something that is talking about appropriations for the school division. You know, I can't stress it enough. We have time. We have new information, and it's clear that what we don't know is how much money Lynchburg City Schools is getting from the Commonwealth of Virginia. But what it looks like we do know is that it's significantly more than we plan to get. And because of those things, I can't in good conscience vote to set aside this $1.6 million into a reserve that we may not need. Now, I do know that we will be able to reverse this if necessary. But it's not, we've got more information we need to consume before we make this decision. We should not just be blindly spending our citizens' dollars in a time when they are pinching pennies just to get by.
Vice Mayor Crawley.
Be it resolved by the Council of the City of Lynchburg that $1.6 million of the city's fiscal year 2025 general fund budget is hereby set aside, kept, and safeguarded in the city's accounts for the purpose of helping ensure Sandusky Elementary School and T.C. Miller Elementary School remain open for the city's 2024 and 2025 school year. Does that appropriate any money? Does it put a lockbox on money to be appropriated? So we're not appropriating any money here. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Councilman Dolan.
So, well, Vice Mayor just said what I was going to talk about. And the second thing is that, you know, what we also don't know is if there's going to be restrictions on the money from the state. And again, since it's not appropriated, it's a non-issue. And I think it gives a comfort level to all those parents and children to know that we are going to say what we were going to do, what we said we were going to do.
I'd like to go ahead and call for
Madam
vote,
Mayor.
please.
Yes.
We've heard everybody's opinion.
I got a question for staff on this one. Are we allowed to have any say whatsoever in which schools remain open or closed?
Exactly.
This is a.
Is city council allowed to have any say?
City
in which,
attorney question.
Yeah, the city
Okay.
attorney question. Are we allowed to have any say in which schools remain open and closed?
So I don't know if that question is germane to the resolution on the floor. And I say that because this resolution doesn't specifically direct the opening or closing of schools. What it specifically does is safeguards money for purposes of keeping those schools open if the school board was to want to keep them open. Clearly, that's their decision. But that question itself wouldn't be germane to this resolution because that isn't what council would be doing by it.
So I'd like to vote, please.
Yeah.
Point of order on that, Mr. I mean, as the Vice Mayor just read it, it said, for the very purpose of helping ensure Sandusky Elementary and T.C. Miller Elementary School remain open for the city's 24-25 school year. That's what this resolution is, which to me, it sounds specifically germane because it's saying, so.
It's not directing the schools to remain open. It's setting aside money. That is the substance of the resolution.
Okay.
So you can vote for setting aside or not.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to.
Okay, let's vote, please.
Yes.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hibbleston?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
No.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Heck yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. Consideration of introducing several resolutions appropriating the fiscal year 2025 discretionary external service providers budget. May I have a motion on the resolution for the external service provider Amazement Square?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Can we do all, well, let's do it separately because I know it's all I'm saying now, but yes.
Do I have a second? On Amazement Square? Pardon? What? Second?
$30.
Dies for lack of second.
369.
Do I have,
Dies for lack of second.
$369.
did someone second
No.
this?
I was,
Yes, no? Anyone?
For Amazement Square?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Wilder?
Again, these were some of our community partners. It's for some $369 for Amazement Square.
Right, yeah, $69, yeah.
Yeah.
Vice
I
Mayor
think we
Feraldi?
can spare that. Yeah, $369.
Oh, $369. Yeah, sorry. Any other discussion from anyone? No? Okay, let's go ahead and vote, please.
Councilmember Dolan?
yes.
Councilmember Hibbleston? What was that, I'm sorry? Councilmember Hibbleston? Okay. Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay, may I have a motion on the resolution for the external service provider Central Virginia Alliance for Community Living?
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Dr. Wilder?
Again, they provide a great service for our seniors in our community, and I truly support them for this organization, yes.
Okay, Councilor Taylor? Okay, any discussion? All right, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hibbleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
May I have a motion on the resolution for the external service provider Central Virginia Community College Board?
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Wilder?
Just to make sure I'm clear, for the Central Virginia community, can you tell me what's included in that $1,930?
This is the.
So our community can know.
Yes, this is the city's share of funding provided for the board's, the College Advisory Board activities.
And the work that Central Virginia Community College does is so crucial to our community, especially for workforce. So I truly support them. Thank you.
Councilor Taylor? No? Okay, any discussion? All right, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hibbleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Okay. May I have a motion on the resolution for the external service provider Impact Living Service? Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilor Mischins?
I've had the opportunity to talk with the folks that are involved with this, and it's making a tremendous difference for our first responders. And, you know, I can't think of a better group of people to be involved and plugged in and helping with the mental health support, the support of our first responders, because what they see is people shouldn't have to see it. And they see it over and over, all the time. So I fully support what we're doing here to keep that service going.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
No.
Okay, any discussion? No? Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hibbleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
Motion passes.
May I have a motion on the resolution for the external service provider, the Virginia Legal Aid Society?
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Dr. Wilder?
Could you also give us a list of what that fund supports so we can be clear
Virginia Legal Aid Society is a nonprofit law firm that provides free legal information, advice, and representation in civil cases to low-income individuals and families.
So again, just make sure that individuals with low income have a right to some legal advice. I think the last time, I think it was more so towards housing, I believe, or something of that nature, the last couple years ago.
I'm not sure if there's specific areas of law that they focus on.
I think it was more so, if I remember correctly, it was more so dealing with housing issues, things of that nature.
Legal
Yes.
evictions, yeah.
But it's all, thank you.
Councilman Taylor?
No?
Any other discussion? No? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hiddleston?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
Nope.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Consideration of introducing a resolution appropriating the fiscal year 2025 operating fund budgets for all other funds. May I have a motion? Motion on,
I'm trying to find it on my.
oh, okay.
I'm trying to move
This is
along.
item number E.
It's E, yes.
E.
Move for approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Dr. Wilder?
Again, I hit the wrong button, but yes, again, I just approve, we've been working on the budget since December. These are all the other funds that we haven't already voted for, so that's why I support that. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Dolan?
No comment.
Okay, any discussion? Councilman Hiddleston?
So these are for the, basically our enterprise funds, if you can describe it. Somebody, Donna or Greg or?
This is, yes, our enterprise funds, water, sewer, stormwater, and airport. Also, the fleet services fund, our grant fund, the city federal state aid fund, our community development block grant, our children's services act fund, our home investment trust fund, and the Lynchburg Expressway appearance, which is the LEAF fund, the regional juvenile detention fund, the risk management fund, the special welfare fund, and the technology fund.
Thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hiddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Nope.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 6-1.
Okay. Consideration of introducing a resolution appropriating the fiscal year 2025 schools operating budget by major classification. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we table this item for 2 weeks.
Second.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
And again, with this, if you look at your resolution, it shows on here the school's income. The very first line is the state number, $68,812,000. Mr. Patrick, can you tell me approximately, based on the new numbers that you just saw, what those numbers may be?
Most likely up to 74 million.
74 million, and then if the actual ADM is higher,
Probably another $1.5 million.
yeah. So we're looking at, instead of 68 million, the possibility of 74 million to 76 million. And so that's why I think this should probably be prudence to table this until we have the actual numbers. What we have on this budget as well, it has the expenditures for another $1 million on top of the local contribution of 39 million, for another $1 million to go in the health insurance reserve. With that, if the state numbers are 68 million, and in 2 weeks it really is that, great. We wait 2 weeks and we approve it in 2 weeks. Tabling it isn't saying no to it, it is getting the actual numbers because they just came out, and we know for sure that what you're voting on is not even remotely accurate. It's 74 to 76 million dollars, most likely different. You're looking at another 10% state revenue on top of this. We don't know what that brings, if there's requirements that we have to match for raises and whatnot with the non-SOQ positions. The prudence says, let's wait 2 weeks. This is a big number. This one is different. It's very different than item C because we know without fail or without question that this isn't correct. So I hope that we can table this for 2 weeks. Tabling it again is not denying it. Tabling it is tabling it for 2 weeks, which still will give us ample opportunity to be able to have 2 readings on the budget. And I do hope that this one that you will actually vote to table for.
So, again, I will provide my disclosure statement that my wife is a teacher in Lynchburg City Schools. She's a member of a group of people that are Lynchburg City School teachers, and they are wonderful. And that I am able to weigh in and vote on this objectively and impartially. Kind of dovetailing on what Councilmember Helgeson said, it's a big number. Of the component units we've got, this is the biggest, I think, by far. And it's an important one too. And I just don't think we need to rush into this decision if we have plenty of time. You know, I think Mr. Patrick stated that the time clock hasn't even started ticking yet because we don't even have a calc tool. And that's something that helps us determine how that money is spent or how it has to be, or how the money comes in and the certain ways that it needs to be spent. And it's a huge swing. And there's a lot potentially on the line with this. You know, Councilmember Helgeson mentioned the potential for having to match in requirements, and that even includes compensation increases for our teachers. And that is critically important because that is a tool that helps them retain great teachers. I'm even open to coming in earlier next week if we have the information that soon. I don't have an issue doing that and voting on this one item. That's just where I'm at on it. But I think we need to really examine where we're at, and you know what we need to do moving forward with this. So I'm going to vote to table it.
All right, the motion on the floor is our table for the next meeting. Any other discussion? All right, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
You want
Councilmember-
to table it?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Helgeson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Timing, it's getting a little late, sorry. The 28th is probably more time for us to be able to kind of vet the numbers. So I hear the request or maybe the potential of a special meeting. I would offer.
I said I'm willing.
You're willing?
The motion was 2 weeks. I
Right.
said I'm willing.
I would recommend, Mayor and council members, that we keep the 28th as the date, and that will give us more time to vet the actual numbers.
And I guess if we needed to, for the essence of time for the school division, we could always call a special meeting within, 3 days, I think? Is that what it is? If we had to go ahead and do the second reading, if we needed to kind of speed that thing up.
Okay. All right, moving on. Consideration of introducing a resolution adopting the fiscal year 2025 to 2029 capital improvement program and appropriating the fiscal year 2025 capital budget. May I have a motion?
Let me find this too, if I can. I did this differently. I usually use the Dropbox. Now I'm using this thing where you got to click on it.
Move for approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
I did second.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
I did.
Dr. Wilder?
Yes, again, these are the capital projects. If you look around the city and see all the needs that we have, this is kind of looking at a timeline and an assessment of what we think we can do financially feasible that we can do this upcoming year. So I support that. I support the recommendation from the staff. I mean, it's the funds for the water sewer capital projects, for the airport fund, for various other improvements in our city so we can keep our city moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Dolan?
I think the resolution speaks for itself. I support the projects as going forward.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? Councilman Huggleson?
Yeah, I guess this resolution, I wish it did speak for itself, but it doesn't. It's a lot of numbers sitting there kind of thrown in there. Donna, for the $45,606,708 for the city capital projects fund, can you help remind me what some of those projects are? Yeah, okay. Because there's lots of different projects on here, which I think there are some that were really good, that we desperately need. Some of them, I think we could have probably deferred. So seeing all these numbers, the problem is the more the capital projects fund, lots of it requires debt service, doesn't it? It requires using some of our on-time financing. Some of it requires our new bond issue where we can do debt financing for some of these projects. With that is not only spending money today, but it's financing it for the next 20 years. And so with that, I think we should spend a little more time on this. It's here before us to vote on it, and so I would like to vote in favor of it, but because there's so many items that I think we could have probably sharpened the pencil on, I'm going to vote against this resolution.
Dr. Wilder?
We got a budget book like in January, December. We've had the budget book for quite a while, and all those items are in our budget book. So we've had plenty of time to review it. We've gone, we had special sessions about the capital projects. So that's why I recommend that we approve this budget. Thank you.
Anyone else? Council commissions?
Yeah, personally, for next year, I'd like to see something a little more similar to how things were done before I was on council with the list, right? There used to be an ability for council members to throw an item on the list, and then it would take council members to bring it back off the list, right? And I think that kind of speaks to what Councilmember Helgeson was talking about. I know that we have had time to look at the budget and so forth, but there was never really any opportunity if any one of us said, hey, I don't really think that's a good idea for that to get thrown on a list, and then it would take a majority of us to bring it back and make it alive. And, there are projects on here that need to be done. But there's also some projects on here that, I don't know that it's necessary for us to spend our citizens' money that way. So because of that, because I'm here to look out for our citizens' wallet first, I won't be voting for this resolution.
Anyone else? All right, let's vote, please.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Heggelson?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
No.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Nope.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 4-3.
Okay, consideration of introducing a resolution appropriating $50,000 of the fiscal year 2025 reserve for contingencies for use by the city manager. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Dr. Wilder?
No, I made the motion.
I know you, no, I know, I was just saying you got the second, so go ahead.
So with this, I do want to commend our it's a small amount. It's $50,000 that has been put there for the city manager to use at his discretion. It's been there. If there's something that was critical to use for it, he would use it, and he hasn't touched it in years. And the beauty of that is it's only probably used if it's totally needed. And so I commend you for not touching it. But that's not saying you can't touch it when the right thing is there, and I wholeheartedly support this resolution.
Okay, Dr. Wilder?
Yes, I support the actions of our city manager. Again, you need to have some funds for special projects or items he knows that might need to be funded. So I appreciate him. I trust our city manager. So I appreciate him. So I think we need to show some support for him as well. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Consideration of adopting a resolution setting the personal property tax relief rate at 32.73% for January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024. May I have a motion?
I think Donna wants to speak to it. I wish you would. No, I wish you would, if you don't mind.
Oh, okay.
There needs to be a
Please speak to
motion
it.
I need to
first.
have, yeah. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Do you want to do it? Okay, you have your motion. Did you want to come up?
This is simply a calculation that's performed by the Commissioner of Revenue based on state funding of just over $5.5 million for the Personal Property Tax Relief Act that's been in place since Governor Gilmore. It's basically a calculation based on the number of vehicles registered in the city of Lynchburg against that $5.5 million. And this year it comes to 32.73%.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Helgeson?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischens?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the Lynchburg City Schools major classification funding for fiscal year 2024 and transferring $1,671,820 from contingency reserves to instruction. This item was discussed to council during our work session earlier this afternoon. May I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Do I have a second? Second. Okay, Dr. Wilder?
You know, we talked about this at the last city council meeting as well as this morning in great length. So I support our school system. Maybe they move on and concentrate on the next budget cycle. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Dolan?
Nothing really to add to this, except that this is for 2024. It is not in their 2025 budget.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah.
Councilman Hudson?
As we look at this item that was brought to us this afternoon or talked about at quite a bit of length today, normally when somebody's asking to utilize funds, taxpayer funds, to move them from one thing to another, you wouldn't want to have so many, making a presentation, have so many moving parts that changed week to week, such as the ADM. 2 weeks ago, we had a number for the ADM that was 100 students more. I mean, you're counting how many kids are in the classrooms. With that, we heard numbers from regarding the gas and the electric bills that, oh, they shot through the roof. But today, there were different numbers, that the gas bill, the water bill went down, but the electric went up. There's been lots of things that didn't bode very well in the confidence to say, yes, this is critical and needed. With that being the case, we ended the conversation today where I asked the superintendent, what will happen if this money's not there? She said, well, I'll have to look at the back of the book and find where to go. So to me, I recognize that there's the possibility and the possibility only for health insurance. If there's extra claims that are happening more over and above what was budgeted, but didn't make a very good case today to say, yep, we can take this from a reserve and go ahead and spend it within the next month and a half. So I'm not inclined to vote in favor of this because this is extra spending on our school system, when again, if there's a real need, I think that should have been presented in a clear, lucid way, wouldn't have had numbers that were changing from week to week. It wasn't a lot of confidence that was built today. So if there was a good rationale or reason, I'd be happy to vote in favor of it. I didn't see that this afternoon, and I'll be voting against this motion. Because I think this one right here, this 1.6 million, would be very helpful to use for next year, for that one-time reserve of 1.6 million. Just in case you wanted to keep, if they needed extra funds for Sandusky and TC Miller. It's the same amount. And I thought this amount, if it wasn't spent this year, it falls to fund balance. and we could use it as a one-time fund to help if that was needed for next year. But spending it this year isn't going to help next year, so.
Anyone else?
Did I not understand this correctly this afternoon, that this is because of a shortfall because of the insurance claims in 2024? Isn't that what she was communicating to us?
Yeah, it's a number of issues driving.
But I mean, the big thing was the insurance.
Insurance, electric bills, and a lack of sales tax
So
makeup money.
If they don't get it, they're going to have to find it somewhere else, and we're almost done with their 2024. Know where it's going to come from. That's all I'm saying.
Councilman Jones?
I don't know that that last statement is entirely accurate, because what we were provided essentially today, and we were given a little bit of a detail on where some expenses increased, so to speak, right? But the reasons that they listed were shortfalls in revenue, right? And you can't plan a budget without talking about the expense side either. So you need to look at all the money coming in and all the money going out. And this has been a kind of a systemic issue. One of the questions that I asked was, how many CFOs has Lynchburg City Schools had in the last, I think it was 2 years or 3 years? And I think the answer is it 3? Can you help me? What's the turnover been over there, Donna? I think
There's been 2 plus an interim.
2 plus an interim.
Was Dr. Edwards' response.
And in the last 5 years, how many has there been? 4? Are we on the 4th? You lose count?
I can name them. I'm not sure when they were there.
So we've had a revolving door in the position of Chief Financial Officer for Lynchburg City Schools for 5 years now. And that impacts our citizens, right? Because they're footing the bill for this. It also impacts our faculty and staff in Lynchburg City Schools, because if they're wasting money in places where they could be investing it in the people, then that's an issue, right? And when you're impacting the people that teach our kids, you're impacting the kids. So with that, I just didn't have confidence in the ask today. I didn't have confidence in the request from Lynchburg City Schools to honor this. I'll be voting against it, and I'll give my disclosure again. My wife is a teacher at Lynchburg City Schools. She's a member of a group of people called Lynchburg City School Teachers, and I am able to vote on this impartially and objectively. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Before I call a vote, I will remind everyone that the shortfalls that we were presented totaled approximately $4.3 million. As I recall, it was about $2.2 million of those were healthcare claims that were not something that could be planned for. That was the shortfall that they're looking at. They're asking us to give them what's left in their contingency fund, which is money we allocated to them last year in last year's budget, or the current fiscal year budget, 2024. We had Dr. Edwards stand here before us and say to us, you've told us to ask for it when we needed it, and we need it. She explained that. She said we need it. She may have given some people reasons that they don't want to hear or don't agree with or don't trust or whatever it is. But she said they need it in order to tidy up and finish this year without having to make some even more challenging decisions than have already been made. She gave us a list of what they're currently doing because of that 4.3 million approximate shortfall. The reason why we give them a contingency fund or a savings account, pretty much, is for extenuating circumstances. That is what she explained they are currently in. We can argue utility amounts. She explained the kind of odd situation with the ADM. She counts the number of her students, and the VDOE has their own way of determining that number. It's out of her control. It is what it is. So there's obviously some type of disconnect between the number the school reports and how the VDOE determines their number, and it fluctuates throughout the year. Doesn't seem like it's LCS's intentional or desired way it's done. Nobody's, I don't think, lying about the number of students in the schools. It's just how the VDOE does their calculation. In the meantime, they need the money. And if they don't get the money, they're going to have to make some other really challenging decisions. So the contingency fund is there. She said they have a need. That's what that's for, and she's asked us for it. Period. Let's vote.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hedlison?
No.
Councilmember Mischins?
No.
Councilmember Taylor?
No.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Yes.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 4-3.
Okay, consideration of adopting an ordinance adding a new section to city code specific to authorizing revenue sharing of solar and energy storage facilities. This item was presented to council during our business item briefings on April 23rd, 2024. May I have a motion?
Yeah, let me find it.
It's number 19.
I'll make a motion so we can discuss it. Yes, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Helgeson.
Mr. Martin, can you, since you are my friend,
Yes, members of council, this was discussed with you at your last meeting during a business item briefing. It deals with these energy storage facilities that has been before you several times, most recently this evening, and how you tax them. State code says that if you're going to use your machinery and tools tax rate, it reduces from 80%. It's 80% for the first 5 years, and it goes to 70% down to 60 for the remaining life cycle. In lieu of your machinery and tools tax, you can do what's called a revenue share of $1,400 per megawatt. That actually increases every 5 years. So it's really a more straightforward and better revenue stream for the city is to do the revenue sharing on these battery storage facilities. The real estate tax would stay the same. This is just in lieu of machinery and tools taxes.
so is there any negatives that you see with adopting this resolution as in this ordinance amendment? Or
No, sir, I
as you
do
see?
not. Honestly, I think it's a lot more positives because if, let's say the two that are before you, if they decided to sell those to AEP, then it would fall under the State Corporation Commission, which is a much even more reduced than what the city's machinery and tools tax is. With the revenue share, $1,400 would remain the same for the life of the facility. So it's a more guaranteed revenue stream for the city.
And so with this is per state code that we can adopt this, the charge, the revenue for the per megawatt.
Yes, sir.
The locations of where they are has nothing to do with this ordinance. Those happen either by right or by a change to zoning.
Correct. And one of the things that would be in the siting agreements that we spoke of earlier is this revenue share. So it's, yes, sir.
Great, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Oh, Councilman Mischins?
I just, this was an interesting conversation. And I just wanted to thank you guys for digging in and figuring this one out because it's definitely something new.
It's been a learning experience, yes, sir.
And you know, I feel like we've been learning right there alongside you, but you guys have been amount 2 steps ahead of us in that process, and it was helpful.
A lot of help from the city attorney. I just want to know what I did to the clerk to be put last on the agenda tonight.
But yeah, I just wanted to, it was, we're coming after everybody's D-cells next, right? We're gonna go ahead and tax them on the megawatt rate on their D-cell batteries at home.
Maybe. Anything?
Okay, I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right, let's go ahead and vote, please.
Councilmember Dolan?
Yes.
Councilmember Hedlison?
Yes.
Councilmember Mischins?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Faraldi?
Nope.
Mayor Reed?
Yes.
The motion passes 6-1.
Okay. Well, this meeting is adjourned. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be held on May 28, 2024 at 4 p.m. in Council Chamber.